the first year of a second Trump term will look like the last year of the first Trump term. Look, I think there's a lot to be concerned about. I've said I believe he's a threat to democracy, and we should be very mindful.
Uh-oh, folks. Seems like the call is coming from inside the house.
Stop calling me, you
Listen to me. We traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Do you hear me?
The former White House, to be exact, because that is but one of a number of great clips I have for you today of Mike Esper, Trump's former Secretary of Defense, absolutely trashing Trump, apparently for months now, by the way, and revealing he's likely
switching sides.
But before we get into all that, if you'd be so kind as to drop a like, and if you're new here, a subscribe, because it really helps the channel out and allows us to bring you more videos like these. Thank you kindly, it means the world. And without further ado, let's dive back in. So that clip was just a snippet from the most recent Bill Maher episode where, as we said, Trump's former Secretary of Defense, Mike Esper, confirmed a few things for us. Each one just a bit juicier, starting with this.
The first year of a second Trump term will look like the last year of the first Trump term.
Oh, so you mean like... Great, looking forward to that. So right off the bat, confirmation from an appointee, a former cabinet member of Donald Trump's administration, that his reappointment would start off with absolute chaos. Not just get there, that would be it from the get-go. And in classic fashion, when Republicans acquire power, it would only be downhill from there.
In other words, with all the craziness, with the fresh troops in, remember he brought in all the fresh people in March of 2020, and those are the folks that carried that last year that eventually led us through the election and into the, the 2.5 months of election denialism. And so, yeah, look, I think it's going to be very rough.
Ah, yes, the old guard of teat-suckling, election-denying loyalists. Exactly what this country needs to make America dictate again.
You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one.
His words, guys. Not mine. It's funny too, because like the Romans actually implemented the dictatorship as one person taking over when there was absolute chaos and then them stepping down. And that worked during the Roman Republic. Famously, Cincinnatus was a great dictator who took the role many times and stepped down. But history aside, I just love the idea that Donald Trump, of all people, thinks he could be a dictator for a day and then stop. Like cold turkey. Donald, have you met you? And I mean, look, we've talked about this before on this channel. I literally made a reference the other day to Republicans being like the late Republic Romans. Just coming in and purging all of their political opposition, gutting institutions, and replacing everyone with partisan yes men. That will seem all too prescient in just a second, because here you have Trump's former defense secretary confirming exactly that.
The number one attribute that he will seek from anybody coming into the administration will be loyalty, and not to the Constitution, but to him.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. And part of his thing is not just the Senate confirmed people and other political appointees, but as you know, one of the factors, one of the pillars of this kind of retribution pitch when he comes in will be the so-called Schedule F, where he'll try to get rid of all the government employees.
Yeah. We're not just talking about the Senate appointees here, right? He is grabbing the whole government by the pussy.
Grab him by the pussy.
He'll be purging as much of the inner workings as humanly possible. And for further confirmation of that, which we also talked about on this channel recently, here is exactly how and what he plans to do as part of his terrifying Project 2025.
Created by Trump's longtime allies at the Heritage Foundation, along with more than 100 other conservative groups, a 920-page document outlines conservatives' plan to rescue the country from the grip of the radical left. It means that if Trump is elected, the GOP would attempt to implement overreaching bills like the ones popping up in Florida, Texas, Alabama, and other red states federally. The document says the GOP will reach its goals by using presidential power to bypass Congress and by destroying what they call the administrative state, which refers to the agencies that try to ensure clean and safe air, food, water, drugs, and consumer products.
Right. And that is Absolutely horrifying stuff, which is why it is so cathartic to see and so important for former Trump officials like Esper to come out and say these things. These are insiders that saw the inner workings of the previous administration. And they are sending up the warning flares left and right. And Esper himself has been doing this for months, actually, like in this clip from a few months ago, where he again addresses his very real concern over another potential Trump win.
You know, eventually it culminated, the long break, simmering break between he and myself in June of 2020 when he wanted to deploy active duty troops on the street of Washington, D.C. and suggested actually that we shoot Americans in the street. So, I mean, that's kind of more what you'll see, this very hyper-aggressive behavior and this, willingness to flaunt norms and rules, if you will.
Yeah, you heard that right. We're not talking hypothetically anymore about shooting someone on Fifth Avenue. This is the former defense secretary, Trump's own guy, saying that Trump, president and commander-in-chief at the time, suggested deploying troops and shooting Americans. That is absolutely deplorable. And any Republican with an ounce, nay, a milliliter of true patriotism in their blood would deem that reprehensible in an instant. They would disqualify Trump as a prospect for that alone, but they aren't. And that is something we need to continue to call out and mock. It's so stupid. It's like having a pet alligator that you insist is a dog, even though every time you play tug of war, you lose a fucking limb. Republicans are in a clinical state of denial. Your candidate is not a dog, and he's not in it for America or for you. He's a dictator, and he's in it for himself.
John, he really has been very open, I think very honorable.
He's the boss. It's incredible. He wiped out the uncle, he wiped out this one, that one, and then we fell in love. He wrote me beautiful letters. I like the Saudis. They're very nice. I make a lot of money with them. They buy all sorts of my stuff, all kinds of toys from Trump. They pay me millions and hundreds of millions. And I get along great with all of them.
And again, the left are not the only ones saying this. How many times do we have to reiterate how many sane people with firsthand experience say the same thing? Mark Espers is literally admitting Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy and that if he had a second term, he would only appoint limp dick fascist pawns that will cower and say, yes, daddy, to Trump's every order. And I can't wait to show you the admission he makes at the end after Bill Maher pushes him a little bit, and I promise we will get to that. But I know we focused a lot on Esper here, and I just want to show you that he is far from the only former Trumper coming out against the former president. In fact, there is quite a long line of dissent.
The chief of staff calling the president an idiot on several occasions.
NBC News reported you called him a moron.
Pretty undisciplined.
He knows what he doesn't know, and he doesn't care.
Is he a role model for my sons? Absolutely not.
The man doesn't tell the truth.
They know better than anybody.
He's turned the foreign policy of the United States into a personal transaction business.
Mattis accuses Trump of actively dividing the nation.
I think he's a terrible human being.
He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat.
He's a demagogue.
James Mattis accusing President Trump of being a threat to the Constitution.
Just wait until the second term.
Yeah, that was an ad this channel ran 3 years ago, and it's just as relevant today as it was then, if not more so, considering Trump's Project 2025. And luckily, it changed enough Republicans' minds in 2020 to get Biden elected, but clearly, logic and true patriotism has not yet gotten through all of those dummy thick Republican skulls. But just maybe this one could be the start.
Look, I think there's a lot to be concerned about. I've said I believe he's a threat to democracy, and we should be very mindful of that.
So you'll vote for Biden?
There's no way I will vote for Trump. But every day that Trump does something crazy, the door to voting for Biden opens a little bit more. And that's where I am.
Hope y'all liked the video, and if you did, please drop a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get updated when Really American drops new videos. And if you can, we greatly appreciate it if you please consider supporting us on Patreon. We have some really cool patron-exclusive content coming down the pipe, and your support not only helps us bring you more quality videos, but also indirectly prevents Donald Trump from doing this to our democracy and economy. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you guys in the next one.